Hi, everyone. I hope God's been blessing you today. Today is February 1st, 2023, and I'm going to talk about how I became a Jehovah Witness in this video. So we'll start off in, I think it was it was probably February or March of 2018. I'll link in the description below where my husband was contacted by a Jehovah Witness and what happened. I'll leave a timestamp so you can go back and listen to that. But right now, I'll just tell you that, um, you know, we had someone come here a couple times asking if we wanted to study the Bible. And of course, we said no. And then, there was a bunch of stuff we were going through. And then this one kid had come back to the house and asked my husband, if we would like to study. And we eventually started to study the Bible with a couple that didn't live that far from us, and they seemed very nice, and they were willing to study the Bible with us 1 day a week for about an hour or two each time we studied. So we started to study and everything was going great. Both me and my husband grew up Catholic. And so growing up Catholic, neither one of us really were practicing Catholics, I guess you could say. We didn't really go to church. We did when we were younger, but once our parents were like, whatever, we didn't go on our own. I went with my kids, I would say probably in my early 20s, to get them baptized and to let them go through, communion and all that stuff. But I wanted them to make the decision on their own, which they were young, they were older because they never got baptized as little babies. We waited until they were old enough to make the decision themselves, and they had gotten baptized probably around 7 or 8 years old. And then they went through the communion and all that stuff. But then we didn't really go back to church either. So this was, like I said in my other videos, I always believed in God, always believed in Jesus, always believed that there was a God and everything. But I never really read the Bible. As a Catholic, I just would go to church and listen to what the priest would say. And of course, when I was younger, I would go to my friends' churches, and I would always like going to church when I would go because it was enjoyable. But it never, like nothing ever stuck in my head. So studying the Bible at an older age, I thought, okay, this is probably the time that I need to actually focus on this and get the most out of it. So that's what I did. I took the most out of it. In July of 2019, that's when my mom had broke her hip, and I had moved in with her so I could help her recover. And at that time, me and my husband were still studying the Bible with this older couple over the phone because, they were here with my husband, but I was over the phone. And eventually what was going on was I was getting, being overwhelmed with work and doing that and everything with the studying. So my husband had kind of broke off from the actual group, Bible study with all of us together. And he started studying with the husband by himself, and I would study with the wife by myself when I had a chance. So I was getting behind, I guess you could say, because my husband was always doing it, but I was not always able to do it. So he was ahead of me, in the studying, which was not a big deal because we would still talk to each other on the phone and we would discuss what we were being taught. The good thing though is because he was ahead of me, I kind of got a sense of like what I was going to be talking about, and so it would give me a chance to like come up with questions and stuff if the subject that we were getting ready to talk about, he would already tell me. So I was able to ask certain questions that I actually wanted to know. Now, There was times though during the Bible studies that my husband would tell me like, oh, you know, I was told this and that, and then I would have the same kind of study, but like, a few weeks later, and then I was being told something different by the wife. And um or the let me not say something different. They were saying the same thing, except the husband was giving a different demeanor, I guess you would say, because so let me just give an example. So I would be, doing the study with this lady, and she would ask me to read one of the scriptures, and I would read it. And then she would say, what do you think that means? And then I would tell her what I thought, like how I understood that scripture, what I thought it meant. And then I would get immediately, no, that's not what it means. It means this. Or she would say something like, well, that's a great point, but it actually means this. So, and then she would tell me like what it meant. And then I would say, well, how do you know that what you're saying is what it means? But she would say, well, I've been studying the Bible for, over 40 years. So it comes with practice, which I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm not going to, who am I? I barely ever touched the Bible. So I wasn't going to try to debate her on what she was saying. I figured she must know. She probably read the Bible like a million times. So, okay, so my husband, so during these Bible studies when we first started, my husband had found out that in the congregation that we were going to, there was some sort of CSA that happened in that particular Kingdom Hall. And we asked the Bible teachers specifically, like, hey, we heard about, the stuff that happened at this particular Kingdom Hall. And, as a kid, that happened to me. And so when my husband told me that he found out about that, I was like, oh, I don't want anything to do with, a church or religion that is condoning that or like trying to hide it or whatever. I didn't want anything to do with it. So when we had asked him, he said, no, it wasn't true. And that if that ever happened, they would deal with it like right away. And that he promised me, because I told him, hey, listen, that happened to me when I was a kid, and I don't want to be involved with a religion that's okay with that. And he was like, no, it would never happen and all this stuff. And I was like, all right. And then that same day, I had asked him if the Jehovah Witness organization considered themselves a religion or if they considered themselves like spiritual. And he answered right away, a religion. And to be perfectly honest, I was a little bit disappointed because I thought, really? Another religion? Like I thought, I don't know. I don't know what I thought. I just was like, kind of like a red flag that I needed to like keep in the back of my mind. But we continued to study anyway. So by now, all that stuff happened with my mom, and she was, malnourished at the time, and she had already made up her mind that she wanted to be on hospice. So now she's living at my house, and I'm taking care of her. I had left my job, and I'm full-time taking care of her. And, out of all the churches I've ever gone to, I will say this, none of them have ever comforted me and done things for people in the church. Like, to be perfectly honest, like I remember going to, church, and the only time people would talk to you that didn't know you is when the priest would say, turn to your, left or right, and, and shake their hand, peace be with you type of thing. That's pretty much the only time. You didn't really feel like people knew each other. You only knew the people that you went to church with. And there was a lot of gossiping going on. Like I would go to churches, when I was younger, and people would be coming up and talking about other people in the church. And I'd be like, this is crazy. Like, why are we even coming to church? We're still doing all the things that God doesn't want us to do. But this church, for some reason, kind of showed me a different way. They were very loving. Everybody knew each other. Everybody kind of hung out with each other. That's what it seemed like. Everyone knew each other, and their kids grew up together. And if somebody was sick, you would cook them meals. And if somebody was hurt or needed something, we would all join together and help them, which was like, wow, this is the kind of place that I wanted to be. I want to be with people that, I can show them my love, and so of course, when my mom was at my house, on hospice, there was a lot of people that were coming. A lot of people from the church, from the hall, was coming here. They would pray with me and my mom. Some of them were cooking us meals, so I didn't have to worry about cooking. And some people would come just to give me like a break, or just to talk to me and pray with me and stuff. And so it was really nice. Though I do remember, like, when my husband and I decided we were going to start studying the Bible, we both said to each other, well, we're not doing door to door though. Like, I don't see me ever going door to door, bothering people and knocking on their doors and stuff. So we had already had that, no, we're not ever going to do that. We just want to really study the Bible and see what it says. So now, after my mom passed away, we're still studying the Bible. But we're studying it still separately. So now, even though I'm back at home and everything, I think because I was so far behind, like, my husband was like learning, like, I don't know, because they have like a publication that they go through to help you understand the Bible. So he was like chapters ahead of me. So I was like, that'd be silly for him to go back and wait for me. So I just said, all right, it's fine. We'll just study separately and everything. And we had just started going. They convinced us, hey, you should come to the meetings and everything, because the more you come and join us at the Kingdom Hall, the more information you're going to get. You're going to get more information than you would just studying the Bible. Now you'll get more information. Other brothers will be talking and giving you extra information, and you'll get to know God faster than just, obviously just studying the Bible on your own, which kind of made sense to me. So I'm like, all right, that makes sense. So we started to go to the meetings, which were on Tuesday nights and Sundays. I'm pretty sure the first meeting we went to was a Tuesday night. And when we walked into the Kingdom Hall, it was as if I walked into like a different reality, I guess. Now, remember, I didn't have the best childhood, and half the time my mom wasn't talking to me. My dad was gone. The rest of my family was like, I was the black sheep pretty much of the family. So there was a lot of stuff going on. Nobody really like talked to us and everything. And then my husband also, on his side, kind of went through similar things like that. So he also felt like the outcast in his family. But when we walked into the Kingdom Hall for the first time, it was as if there was nothing but love. Like, you walked in and you were like, there was like a different energy when you walked into the Kingdom Hall. Like, it was so different than any other church I had ever gone into. Everybody came up to me and my husband, introducing themselves. And of course, the Bible teachers that we had were introducing us to everybody in there. Everyone was giving us hugs and telling us like, oh, we're so happy to hear that you're studying and this and that. They were giving us phone numbers and if we needed anything and this and that. Well, at the end of the meeting, we had left. And there was two things. One, the meeting was so weird. Like, it was as if we were learning. Don't get me wrong. All right, let me explain something. If you have been a Jehovah Witness or you are a Jehovah Witness, you understand what I'm getting ready to say. But if you're not a Jehovah Witness, you're not going to understand what I'm getting ready to say. But hopefully you'll understand it from my perspective. So I've never gone into a Kingdom Hall before now. Okay, so this is the first day we go in, and it's like something I've never felt before. Okay. The love and everything was just overpowering. It was really as if God was in there, and I felt like so much love. But there was a portion of the meeting that was very weird. Like there were people like in the front, you know, where like if you go into a church, a Catholic church, the priest and all the people are at the top, you know, on the podium type of place, right? Well, there was women that were up there, and they were kind of acting as if they were going door to door. Yeah, they were acting as if they were going door to door. So like they were talking as if they were trying to teach the rest of us that were listening how to do like a door to door Bible study, I guess. I don't know. It just felt very strange. And when we left, I remember telling my husband in the car, I'm like, that was kind of weird. Like some of the meeting was like, I don't know, looked like acting or something. They were up there acting, and it just seemed very strange. And then I also said, now, I don't know about you, but do you think they were acting like the rest of the whole thing was acting? Because I don't believe anybody is that loving and kind and all that stuff, because of what we've gone through in our lives. We were very skeptical. So my husband was like, I don't know if they act like that when they're not there. And I was like, all right, we'll just have to see. So our Bible teachers wanted us to keep going, you know, to the meetings, but we had actually already wanted to go to a different church that Sunday coming up that our friends were going to. So we said, no, we can't go. And we went to the other church. And that one was more like, it was kind of the same. The only difference was there was a husband and wife that were the pastors at this other church we went to. Our friends came in and everything. And nobody was like, some people were dressed up as if you were going to church, but then some people weren't dressed up. Some people were just, you know, wearing jeans or whatever. But there was no, how I said when you walked into the Kingdom Hall and everyone was coming up to you and introducing themselves, that wasn't at this other church. The pastor and his wife, you know, introduced themselves, and you know, our friends, you know, had us sit with them and everything, and the preaching was great that day. And then you could go downstairs after and have lunch with them and talk to everybody. But I did notice a lot of the same stuff happening in this other church that was happening in the Catholic church in Rhode Island that I would go to. The people were talking about each other and all that stuff. And I was just like, man, I wish none of that was going on. And I will tell you, at the Kingdom Hall, there was none of that. Like nobody, you didn't hear anybody talking. If you heard talking, they were asking a question or answering a question, or they were talking about God or, you know, good stuff. I didn't hear anybody talking about each other there, which was nice. So I had asked my husband, let's go to the Sunday meeting and see how it is. So the following week we had went to the Sunday meeting, and it was wonderful. Like there was a guy that came from a different hall, and he did a talk, and it was just a wonderful talk. He like picked a scripture and just did a whole talk on it. And then you did like a Bible study, which was funny, because then I was like, oh, all right, this makes sense. That's why it's better, because you do a congregation Bible study over there. So you're doing a personal one with your teacher at your house. But the reason why you can get more benefit by going to the meetings is they do another one on Tuesday nights and also on Sundays, but it's like with the whole congregation. So you're getting extra information. So I told my husband I really liked them. I enjoyed them. So we started to go to those. Well, it wasn't too long, maybe a month or two, when we were hit with the pandemic. And then the Kingdom Halls were all shut down because of the safety of the people in the community, in case they were to come. They didn't want to get anyone sick, so they shut all the Kingdom Halls down. And now we were on Zoom doing the meetings and stuff. So, which was I thought was convenient because I was using Zoom at work. I knew how to use Zoom. I thought, wow, what an awesome idea that we could still, go to church and stuff. And I actually am not, I thought that's great. God totally blessed, the churches to be able to use the internet. Because I mean, why not? We're all using the internet now, right? During this time, COVID is, it's like rampant, and everybody is, they're not going door to door or anything anymore because they don't want anybody to get sick. And so by now I'm totally convinced. Now I've been studying since, the 2018, it's now 2020. And, I'm pretty confident that I'm really loving the information that I'm getting, and I'm really enjoying the association with the people, and I'm getting friends and all this stuff. Well, so I decide I want to get baptized. Well, I'm told that if I want to get baptized, there's like a process to get baptized. And, again, at the time, I'm not thinking anything bad because I don't I don't assume people are malicious at all. Like, I don't think that people wake up in the morning and they're like, oh, who can I screw over today? I've never thought that. I mean, there probably are people in the world that do that, but I don't think there are people that do that. And so, I'm like, okay, well, what do I have to do in order to start the baptism process? And I'm being told that the first thing I have to do is, am I affiliated with any other church? Am I a member of any other church? Well, of course, I was a member of the one in Rhode Island. So I was told I had to write a letter and tell them that I didn't want to be a Catholic anymore, which I did. Which at the time I didn't really think anything of it. I just was like, all right, well, that makes sense because I guess I bet I was baptized as a Catholic. So now I want to be baptized as, a Jehovah Witness. So I'm like, all right, I guess that makes sense to me. So anyway, I do that. I start doing all the process and I get approved, and I get baptized in August of 2020. And like I said, I truly believe I found the truth. I have a relationship with God now. I'm really enjoying going to the meetings, learning more and more about God each week. And now, because we can't go door to door, due to the restrictions and everything, the organization decided that they were going to talk about, the good news of the Bible to people through writing letters and phone witnessing. And so originally, when we started, I wasn't sure, like, because we never wanted to go door to door. So we were kind of happy. We were like, oh, nice. We don't have to go door to door. So we'll just do, letter writing. Cause I mean, if you write someone a letter, they don't have to read it. They can read it if they want to, but they don't have to. So I felt like I was less intrusive, writing a letter. So we started off writing letters, and then my husband got baptized in 2021. And then on the weekends, my husband and I would join, the letter writing Zoom calls. And some of the at the beginning, most of the weekends, we would be writing letters to neighbors that lived around us, or people in the community, to like the businesses and stuff. I didn't really do that because there was people that like to do that, so I just let them do it. I just really like to write letters to people, like my neighbors and people in the community. And what I would write is, what I would be getting out of, we're during the pandemic, everybody was like very sad. We were all shut in. Most of us lost our jobs. Most of us lost people that we loved. And it was, hard for everybody. So I was getting a lot of comfort from studying the Bible. So when I would write letters, I would just, let people know in the letter, hey, listen, I don't know how you're, like, I want to know how you're doing and everything. And do you need any help or whatnot? And I would tell people, I'd be willing to, help them shop or whatever if they needed that or whatever. But I would tell them like a scripture and how it was helping me get through certain things like depression or anxiety or grief and stuff like that. And then eventually, I wanted to try phone witnessing because I really enjoy talking to people and getting to know them. So on the weekends, after a while, I started to do the phone witnessing. And most of the time you would get a voicemail and you could leave a message, or sometimes it was nobody, out of service, or nobody would answer the phone. But sometimes people would answer the phone, and I would love it because I love to talk to people. I love to get to know people. And so I would have wonderful conversations with people on the phone. And, and then I don't know, I would ask certain things like, how are they staying positive during all like the chaos that's going on in the world and all this stuff. And then if they would tell me they lost a loved one, and I would, let them know, yeah, I understand how you feel. I lost my dad and all this stuff. And then I would tell them like what scripture that I would read. It would make me feel better and stuff. And most of the people were very kind. Conversational and everything. Obviously, you had some that would hang up on you, which I would never get offended. I would just feel bad because I knew that the studying the Bible was giving me peace and joy, and I wanted kind of somehow to give that peace and joy to the other people, because I could hear in their voices that they were very depressed or maybe distraught because they lost someone, or just anything, worried about money or not having enough. And because we were all going through the same thing at that time. Don't mind my doggy, he loves you guys. Now around this time I started to notice that my husband didn't really want to go to the meetings as often, and he would still do like the letter writing, but he didn't want to do the phone witnessing anymore. And even the letter writing started to become like, less and less. And I would ask him like, hey, what's going on? How come you don't want to do letter writing or phone witnessing? And he would start to say stuff like, well, I mean, I don't really know if I believe everything that they're saying, and I don't want to push it on other people if I'm not confident. And I'm like, but you got baptized, I thought you wanted to, I thought you thought this was, the truth or whatever. Well, anyway, he was drinking at the time and it would start arguments when I would ask. So I was like, I don't like confrontation. So I just kind of dropped it, and I would still do what I would do. And then he would end up, doing something else. And I don't want to talk too much about how what happened on his side, because I'm hoping I can do an interview with him where he would have his own video on kind of what happened on his side with the whole organization. So I'm going to leave that for a future video. And right now I think I'm going to stop here, because at this time we're in 2022, okay? And I'm still thinking I have the truth, but my husband is the one that's starting to like investigate and research some stuff that was bothering him. And in the meantime, I was still like adamant, no, this is definitely, where I want to be, and talk to these people. I don't want to like lose them as friends and stuff. So I'm going to stop right now, because I just kind of wanted to give you the background and how I became and what happened during, me and my husband in the organization. The next video that I do is going to start off with the red flags that I saw that I saw in 2022 that I didn't see at the beginning. and where it went from there. And I hope you all have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video.